One's ready. Go!
All right, everybody. Welcome back to the One's Ready podcast. If you guys weren't tracking, we have the Operator Training Summit coming up in Nashville on the 25th and 26th of October. We've got a indoor pool because that's important in that area in that time of year. So, and people get cold. Even in San Diego, it got a little bit chilly after spending enough time in the water to zap you. But yeah, so we've got an indoor pool. Looks like we're going to be camping at a ranch and then doing another training event at a ranch. So what you can expect is this is not Hell Day. This is not Hell Week or anything like that. This is literally instructorship, mentorship. We're going to take, what we do, rucking classes, running, formation running. What else do we do? We do grass and gorilla drills, calisthenics. We'll show you your pull-ups. We do some attributes, academics. I think that's nutrition, mobility. We've got Taylor Starch that comes out there, the mad scientist himself. And then on the second day, we spend 10 to 12 hours in the pool, really like deep diving into your underwater technique, your wall pushes, your first strokes, your kicks, freestyle, finning, mask and snorkel recovery, how to properly clear a mask, treading water, drown proofing, buddy breathing. I mean, just like, yeah. So
maybe
Jared,
yeah.
Where would I get the equipment to properly train at one of these OTSs?
Well, if you want to, you head over to onesready.com and then you go, actually, you know what? Why don't I do this? Why don't I actually share our screen? That way you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about.
We're really stepping it up big on this podcast, guys. When we're talking about the OTS, the thing that you're going to get here is there is nobody that is more plugged into every single change that's going on inside the pipeline right now. We are on the leading edge of this. This course is going to be exactly tailored to everything that you need. There may be a new pipeline by the time you get to that OTS, but guess who's going to know about it? And guess who's going to have the most accurate information? It's going to be us. So if you want to correct those training deficiencies, and if you want to make sure that you're training efficiently, correctly, with the right information, come out to the OTS in Smashville. I won't be there because I'll be welcoming my daughter into the world right at that same time. And apparently my wife has a problem with me being gone when she's being born.
Oh my gosh, so needy.
Yeah, but you guys have plenty of time. You got it up on your screen right now. If you guys want to get all the gear that you're going to need, that you're going to train with inside the pipeline, go over to the One's Ready homepage as you're looking at here. You're going to scroll down to partners. You're going to find a TAC Elite, and you can get everything that you absolutely need. You can get a whole pack. If you just want to hit one button and put it in your cart and get everything that you need, we've got that for you. Everything from rucks to fins to masks to snorkels. They've even got training watches on there. There's a whole suite of stuff that you're going to need. So go over to onesready.com, hit the partners link, make sure to find a TAC Elite, get all the training that you need, and hopefully, look, you're even going to have a 10% off. Look at that. Save you a little money too. You know why? Because we're here for you. Just like when we're giving you updates on the pipeline, you're our team now, and we want to help our teammates be better. Bam. Look at that.
Be best.
Yeah. That's good. Well, getting into this one, it's Alex Chiapetta, our good Tac P friend. He had an awesome career. He got in as an older guy. He's going to talk about what you need to do as an older guy to get in. I can't believe he made it at the right old age.
Is that even possible?
No, it's not. I think he's lying. I think he Tim Kennedy'd us. But he got in as an older guy, had a great experience in Tac P. But the great thing that Alex did is he focused very early on about setting himself up for what's next. He's about to start his MBA program down at Texas McCombs. He's got a great network of folks, and he talks about how important those relationships are. And we talk about some other cool programs that you can use while you're inside the military to set yourself up so that you're really building generational wealth and you're not just killing time in the military, which is a mistake we see a lot of these young folks do. Getting that 28% Hellcat right out the gate, maybe you don't need that. Hell yeah, brother. I love the Hellcat.
Hell yeah, brother.
Hell yeah, brother. What is that? Is that a Hellcat scat pack?
If you get the Hellcat, it's okay. Just don't get like a 6-cylinder,
right, Mustang GT. So Alex talks about all those programs, how to set yourself up, and then we talk about his journey all the way through MBA. It's a great one. Alex is a good dude. It's Tac P. We're a Tac P podcast. I don't know if you guys are tracking this, but make sure to follow us for everything else that we're doing. We're always going to have these updates. And now, without further ado, Alex Chiapetta, Tac P MBA candidate. Okay, so first of all, every guy should have 5 suits, and you should have a tailored. You should have 2 that are tailored to you, and other ones that you have like 2 like custom suits, and then the other 3 should be suits that are tailored to you that you bought specifically. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. You got the whole crew here. we do this funny thing where Peaches gets annoyed that we're wasting too much content by having backside conversations, and he just hits record. But I will say, to my own growing and my own credit, I was hovering over the record button when I saw it kick off. So I was like, I know, I could see on Peach's face. So we got Alex Chiapetta with us today here in the team room. Tac P dude, he's transitioning to an MBA program down at Texas McCombs. He's got a lot of great input for you guys. And we're going to talk about a little something that everybody needs, which is just being a good adult human and setting yourself up for success, using that Air Force as a springboard. Alex, welcome to the podcast, brother.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. Man, was it always the Air Force for you, or did you just kind of fall into it?
Man, I didn't even start thinking about the military until I was 27. I'm 35 now, and I was 27. I was training at this gym in Austin, Texas, and the owner was like a ranger. There was a lot of other military guys there. It was actually where I first learned about pararescue. I was doing this, the gym put on all sorts of events, including like a medic training, and we had this like SWAT medic teaching the class. I remember he kept looking up at a guy in the corner and like asking him questions. I was like, why is this guy asking this guy questions? And so I asked the guy I work with, I was like, hey, what's the deal with Jerry? And he's like, oh, he was a pararescue man. And I was like, what is that? And that's kind of what got me down the path of the Air Force.
Was his last name Dufresne?
Yeah.
No way.
Jerry Dufresne, yeah. Good dude. He actually he helped me train up for WaterCon because we were both in Austin then. And then I kind of let it go. And I remember I went to my sister's graduation, the Air Force Academy. I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. And then COVID hit, and I was like, I don't want to sit at a desk anymore. I was doing like sales operations in tech companies. I was like, there's got to be something more out here. Started looking into it. I looked at 18 X-ray. I looked to go an Army officer, and it was during COVID. So like Army officer, they were like, it's gonna be at least a year before you could even get in front of a board. And I was like, okay, hard pass. 18 X-ray, I went in there and they're like ready to give me that contract and ship me out. And I was like, okay, I need a little more time than this. And then when I started looking at Air Force, what I loved about the Air Force jobs is that you got the shoot, move, and communicate, but you got this extra skill set that no one else has, and they needed you to bring to the table. And so when I started digging into it, I had a friend in Austin whose husband was a Tac P, and that's how I kind of started learning about it. And when I started learning about it, I was like, okay, I like the strategic side of this. I like that you can bring something game-changing to the battlefield, and you still get this good, intense experience. You can do all different things. And so I was kind of from day one, once I locked on Tac P, I was on that the whole way through.
Nice. I can't believe that you had input from Jerry, and you obviously saw how cool he was, and you went Tac P anyway. But man, it takes all types, I guess.
It must be the swimming thing.
It must be the swimming. Now, I noticed you said you were older. Now, we have a hard rule on this, and we tell everybody that follows the page that unless you are 18 to 21 years old, there's no way that you can get through the pipeline. How in the world were you successful at the pipeline at such an advanced age?
Advanced age?
You know, being older has its pros and its cons. I would say, you know, on the side of it, like, yes, you're an adult in that regard, but coming in, you still got to reset your mind and be like, I'm still an E1 when it comes to military. Like, yes, I had a career in basic training. I'd have the dudes come up to me and they'd call me dad. And they'd be like, hey, how do I send a letter? I was like, well, you put the stamp in the top right-hand corner. Like,
that's because of your age though, right?
Yes.
Like, okay.
Not that I know of. No kids I know of, you know. But I would say the things that kept me alive in the pipeline for sure was I would get up every morning a little bit earlier, and I always did like mobility stuff. Because I was like, the number one thing that I'm seeing take dudes out is not taking care of your body, getting little injuries, little stress fractures that compound. And I knew that I wasn't going to recover as quickly, but also from years of weightlifting, I had a lot more durability. I noticed like I wasn't getting joint issues and stuff. So I'd do my mobility in the morning and like long hold stretching at night, lots of protein. And I was in bed at like 7:30 every night. I was like, I got to rest. I got to recover because I'm not a 19-year-old. I can't just break my leg and be back 3 weeks later.
I had a hard and fast rule at NDOC because I went through a little bit older too. So I hit the pipeline at 27. But I had one hard and fast rule because I was like, there were 4 NCOs on the team at NDOC, make NDOC great again. And I was outranked by like 2 months of the actual NCOIC, right? Like he had 2 months time and rank on me. So I'm like, you're the dude. So they would come talk, like all the kids started off with 135 of them. They would come to one of us and talk to us. And I had one rule. I was like, you can come talk to me at night if you need to talk, but the limit is 7 o'clock because it's 7:30. My lights go out because I need to be asleep by 8. So like, that's the one hard and fast rule that I always held there. So if you want to come to talk to me about quitting, you better do it just like shortly after dinner, homie, because you ain't got that much time.
Oh, and you see with the young guys too. Maybe like 10 o'clock and they're playing video games. And sure enough, block one, they're washing out because they're not studying, they're not taking it seriously, you know. And I was like, nope, I'm here to do one thing. I was just like, I'm not going to end up at the gate checking, you know, IDs going through.
Easy.
Well,
Easy.
you
That's
might
an important job.
Wow. And if you work at the 23rd STS, you might do that as a beret wearer. So watch your mouth, bruh.
Could be, you know.
Well, we would only do that when somebody, you know, would make
Bad
poor
decisions.
decisions, you know,
Poor decision making.
poor decision making, and which is also terrible too when you think of like the poor security forces dudes. They're like, wait a minute, you're doing what we do because you got in trouble. Like, it's kind of messed up.
You're doing my profession because you got in trouble.
We would make people wear uniforms as a form of punishment.
Yes, that's
all right?
true too.
Just to put it out there.
You guys aren't allowed to wear black and tans anymore. You got to wear uniform now.
Yeah, what a funny thing.
The world was ending.
Yeah, what a funny thing to like. You should use that as like a recruiting tool. Join Air Force Special Operations. The only way that you'll have to actually do any Air Force stuff is if you fuck up.
God.
Oh,
So
man.
what? So going through the pipeline, you know, the Tac P pipeline. I'm trying to think of when you came in and when they made the change. So when you came in, was it like phase 1 and phase 2? So you had your first phase in Texas and then the second phase here at Nellis?
Yeah, so when I went through it, was I guess it'd be like the first format of the F2 where like CAS was mixed in all the way along for 16 weeks. It was probably about 6 months after I left that they switched it towards kind of like 10 weeks of like, lack of a better term, like ranger school type thing, and then 6 weeks of straight CAS. And from what I heard from guys, they liked that a lot better. Because there's one dude who went through like almost to block 4, broke his collarbone, and they made him restart back to block 1. So then he did the second pipeline. So he had both. He's like, yeah, the second pipeline he liked a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, so that means that after you graduated, you still had to go back to JTAC QC and you know, get your initial qual and all that kind of stuff, or did you actually leave with it?
No, I left with it. I left because I would have went through it in 2022. No, 2023, I think. I finished up JTAC QC in February of 2023. So I went, straight through Texas, had Christmas break, went right to Vegas afterwards.
Nice. And what unit did you end up going to?
Went to the 15th ASOS at Fort Stewart. It's a good place.
All right.
Yep.
Jeez, why are you getting out? I don't know.
You know, I think when I got in, I kind of knew I was like, I want to have this experience. I was going to be interested in it. And I was like, I'm going to see how it goes for 4 years. And I did love it, but I kind of knew longer term, I had other plans I wanted to do. And the MBA had always been on my horizon. And so I was like, you know what? I think this is the right time to do this. I had my fun, but it just kind of was what it was.
Well, everybody's got to take their own kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
Own path, I guess. You know, it's,
Yeah.
I don't know. I lost my train of thought. I'm trying to recover right now. And this happens frequently, Alex.
I said the 15th and you just went off.
Alex, how many TBIs did you have? Speaking
of like one good head smack from a jump. Other than that, not too bad.
Just wondering if he's going to be in Jared's shoes ever. Well, so between the physical part and the academics, can you just walk people through the pipeline real quick and be like, hey, like here were the more difficult things? Because one of the misconceptions that we deal with on a regular basis, we have to cover the same content over and over again, is like, oh, the Tac P pipeline is easier simply because they don't have the pool. Can you walk through some of that stuff? And then when you got to all that JTACery, how you had to like actually use your brain to get to where you're going.
Definitely. I mean, so I went through as a Tac P. I still went to prep. We did all the water stuff. Yes, it pretty much ended there beyond block when you're doing the rifle swim and stuff like that. And then it pretty much went straight to land training. I feel like the big thing to get you on Tac P is the rucking. And I've heard they've really ramped up the times on it, which has been getting a lot more dudes. But I mean, through that pipeline, you're just getting the physical side, you're just getting smoked, and then you're rucking a lot. So you get pretty used to that. That'll definitely beat you down over time. But the thing I liked is you pretty quickly get onto that mental side. On block 1, I mean, you're getting to the radios and land nav. I mean, land nav's like the number one thing that gets dudes. And luckily, from training at the gym I'm actually going on a camping trip with them in like 3 weeks. The owner put it on. But that's like how I learned land navs. I was like, hey, Jake, I need to learn land nav over Christmas break. He was like, all right, let's go in the woods. he just taught me land nav, which worked out well because I was like the second one done. I was like, thank the Lord. Pass land
Always
nav.
how that story ends when someone says, "Let's go to the woods."
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
There's a reason I'm not talking about the rest of the story, right?
Yeah. Hey man,
Oh,
we're
we
gonna
were
go to
just
the
talking
woods.
about sharing sleeping bags yesterday.
So
You gotta
and
stay
it was
warm
another
somehow.
TAC P guy. Yeah, it was a TAC P officer. Like, listen, man, it was a prior enlisted dude. This seems like a theme inside of the TAC P community. Kiss the homies goodnight. I'm here for it. I didn't know I wanted to be a TAC P until just now.
Hey, last time I shared a good sleeping bag was at Sear, and it was actually with the PJ. So,
Beautiful.
you guys like to stay warm too.
They're good
Yeah.
peddlers, the PJs.
We really are. That's
They're
really
generous.
what PJs. We're generous lovers. What we bring to the fight is, generally hugs and just a little bit of homosexuality, just the right amount.
You gotta be a little gay to be in the military. Yeah, that's why we're all here.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's definitely like with the PJs, you definitely got to be like, well, maybe, could be.
It's the really good hair. That's what gets you.
I mean, maybe.
That's actually the last phase of their selection process. It's like there's got to be a little bit of a question there, guys. Otherwise,
Maybe. Yeah, that's actually the last board. Is there's like 6 dudes on the board. They were like, I don't know. What if he was really nice at dinner one night? Took you out, good steak. A couple of drinks. So
Who would
man.
like to be wined and dined?
Yeah, we're good at it.
But no, I'd say the moral story is like, yes, TAC P pipeline is hard, but it's just like anything else. You put one foot in front of the other, you take it one day at a time, and you just keep getting through. And every time you get through another iteration, you build your confidence. You're like, I did that, therefore I can do this. And you just keep going like that. And same thing with the mental side of it too, is you definitely have to, especially once you get to the FTU and you really start getting to the cast, being able to handle multiple things at the same time. But it all just builds. I mean, I felt like they did a great job training us. I feel like the dudes that washed out generally wash out because they're making big mistakes. They're refiring sims 2-3 times. That's really basic stuff that we'd work on, one-on-one with them. They still just weren't getting it. It's like, hey man, if you're not getting this, like now when it's a calm situation, how are you going to handle it when it's not a calm situation? So I was, again, it was hard, but it was all very doable. You can do it if you want to. You just got to put your mind to it.
The folks to like quit. It's like, if you're not getting this, get now. Go on, get. How good did it feel when some of those arrogant, like 18-year-olds didn't make it and you were still crushing it?
Like I said, I'd see them marching around at Medina, walking their lines. And I was like, well, not going to be me. But there's a couple of 18-year-olds that made it through. But I will say the ones that made it through, they had the personality like 40-year-olds. They were literally like old men. I was like, yep, that's why you're making it. But I feel like the average age was maybe like 23 to 25 was like the prime of those dudes were kind of generally doing pretty good.
Yeah. What was surprising about it? Because like you're obviously a very enthusiastic, like research driven person. Like you knew more about the Air Force than I definitely did before I joined and all this other stuff. Like it was wild. Like what was surprising though about the pipeline? What was was anything surprising, or did you already know everything? It's hard for us to put ourselves in your shoes because like you had the internet before you joined, and that wasn't really Jared especially. Like there were like tablets. Stone tablets, not
actual stone tablets.
It's a whole thing.
Ching, ching, ching.
I mean, it's like nowadays, like you can essentially know the entire pipeline day by day, practically.
Yeah.
If you listen to every episode of One's Ready, you could probably piece together essentially what's going to have maybe a little events here or there, and then random things the cadre throw at you. Like you're not going to know what an early morning wake up's going to be, but the general flow of it. Like when I was getting in, Funky Bunkley had some really good videos, and that was like right when FTU was coming out, and like those were the videos we were all watching of like what's the general stages of the pipeline to go through it. So I'd say the biggest thing for me was a learning of I had to switch myself from always being like a leadership role to being like a followership role, I'll call it, especially because I was enlisted. And, I was older than all my officers in there too. And I may have had more life experience, but like I said, I had to like reset myself and check myself and be like, look, you may be, a major in life age-wise, but you are an E3 in the military. Like you don't know shit. Like follow the good NCOs who know what they're doing, listen to what they say. So it's a lot for me of like putting myself in check. Still probably could have done more of it, but it definitely helped curb myself.
Yeah. Well, that's a hard line to walk, man. Like I felt it as a cross trainee and as an older dude, and it really is hard. And until you have that internal realization, like, hey man, like I may have this life experience and that can be valuable. Like you can be valuable. And, just like you were talking to these young kids, like, how do I write a letter? How do I set up my TSP? How do I look at my leave an earnings statement and figure out how much money I'm making and what should I do. Like that is valuable, right? But there is a time and a place to have that value. And if you just walk around everywhere telling people that snakes don't have ears for no reason, like that's not really going to be super valuable at all time. Like it's good input. It's just not necessarily valuable at that time.
I had a really good NCO, and at one point, I think we were like putting stuff away in our container, and there's an E4 who had been in the army, and he was kind of, I thought he was an idiot, and he was, but he was still an E4 and I was an E3, and I went to like grab my ruck and bring it back to my room. We were technically supposed to be keeping them in there, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go pack my ruck, get all set up, put it back in there, and I grabbed it. He's like, where are you going with your ruck? And I was like, I'm taking care of this, and I just walked off, and that NCO like yelled at me. He's like, Chiapetta, get back here. He's like, you do not talk that way to an E4. I remember I just like stopped. I like turned around immediately. I was like, Sergeant, you're right. I'm sorry. I went back to the E4, explained what I was doing. I was like, hey, do you mind if I put this in there? He's like, yes, that's fine. Thank you for explaining to me. And that was like one of like the realest, like just clicks in my brain. Like you're in the military. Like you can't do whatever you want. You need to follow the chain of command or whatever else. And like, that was a really good checkpoint. But again, that was having that good NCO who in the moment was just like, stop right there, fix yourself.
Yeah, those spot corrections are super valuable. And it's, you know, it's almost more valuable for those 18-year-olds to see somebody like an older guy just fall, hey, Roger that, Sergeant, you know, no talking back, no, you know, well, this is why I did it, like explaining yourself. It's good for those younger kids to see it because that enhances the culture of the team. Like you might be right, you might be correct, and you also might need to STFU and just do what the guy told you to do because that's what you're supposed to do. So as you remove, yeah, it's the game is what the game is. We've said that a bunch lately. You know, as you're moving through your career as a Tac P guy and you're getting more of that life experience underneath you, you really figured out early on that you can use everything that the Air Force is giving you to springboard into your next life. And for you, did you think you were going to have a career the entire time, or was this always a thing you were like, I want to get this experience and then I want to move on and do different stuff?
I think coming in, I was about 80-20. 80% I figured it was probably just going to be an experience and move on. 20% of me was like, I'm going to leave the door open. I figured if I really liked it, I'd probably try and go to top T and be an officer. But going in, that was kind of the plan. And then when I started getting there and learning more about the different benefits, you know, like I utilized the VA loan. I bought 2 different houses while I was in. And like one of my favorite things to do, like when I was in basic training, I don't know if you guys have the same thing, but like the last week of basic training, you literally do absolutely nothing. You just sit there and they're like, all you can do is read that little book they give you to prep for the test. And so I like put together a class for all the guys in my flight of like, here's how you do your finances. Here's why you need to set up a credit card. Here's how you get the VA loan and you be that guy who buys the house and rents out the 3 other bedrooms to your buddies and then lives rent free and then stacks the money, does it for a year and then turns over and does it again. And so I really enjoyed teaching guys that, but I was able to do that stuff. And then I started learning about things like Air Force Cool. And I was trying to find programs that were a good fit before I'd gotten in. I know guys were getting like their skydiving done through it. I know guys were getting their pilot license through it. Like there's so many resources for people in the military and people just don't even utilize them. And that's part of what led me down the path of going to my MBA was I was like, okay, I'd really like to round out my business skills. And after taking 4 years off, I was like, how will I get back into the market and still be competitive? I was like, well, I've got this GI Bill that people are going hundreds of thousands of dollars into debt to get a grad degree. Like I can only get paid to go to school and then walk out in, I think the average salary for a lot of MBA programs is like 150K. It's like I can get paid to go to school and then walk out and get a super high paying job. Like that's a no brainer. Why would I not do that? And so that was kind of what led me down that path of like, all right, I'm gonna start studying for the test and doing all the different things to kind of get me out there. But I've always been such a big proponent of like, you gotta, save your money while in the military, take advantage of those benefits and utilize them and have your fun in the military, but also have somewhat of a plan of like, at some point, this fund's got to come to an end, whether it's you get out, you retire, you get medically retired, like things can happen. If you have no plan, like, that's what people get in a bad spot when they get out. But if you utilize the benefits, like there's no reason you can't have a great retirement and successful career afterwards, or potentially just do nothing and just chill, and make money.
Yeah. And that program you were talking about, it's the Air Force Credentialing Opportunities Online. It's still active. You can go over to my airforcebenefits.us.af.mil and you can check this all stuff. Basically, the Air Force Cool program, you can get a whole bunch of certification. There's a whole list of things that you can go on here. And basically, if the Cool program signs off on it, just like Alex was saying, you can do everything from skydiving to advanced online certifications. Guys have used it for programming. There's a ton of opportunities out there. If you could just go check it out, you basically qualify it right away. Funding can't exceed $4,500 per lifetime, but imagine all the certs that you could get with $4,500.
Yeah.
Free Air Force money just to throw at an additional certification that makes you better. Now, if you're super smart about it, maybe you don't go get the skydiving certification. Maybe you do something that helps you at your job and makes you be a more valuable teammate. But man, all that stuff is important. I really love, the idea there that you're setting yourself up. So many people get in the military and they're like, well, that's the end state. I'm just going to clock in 9 to 5 every single day, and I'm just going to do this job. You kind of had a different mindset, and you're like, listen, if I'm in here, I'm going to use every single benefit that I possibly can to set myself up for whatever's next. And whether it is a 20-year career or whether it's one enlistment, you could be really well set up. What are some of those other programs that you found that were super valuable?
So I was lucky that when I came in, I already had my undergrad, but my mindset, I'm not a big school person in general. So even the fact of me going back for my MBA, like that was like the only school I was willing to go back for, is because it's very specific and targeted. But I felt like with the tuition assistance, like if you don't have your undergrad and you're in, like, because you pretty much get an associate's degree just from the pipeline, like knock that out, take advantage of that. Because at this point, undergrads are essentially table stakes. Like for a lot of jobs, you need to have it, unfortunately, but they're kind of useless. But you still got to do it. So it's like, take care of that, get it done. Like, so when you walk out, you can check that box. TSP, I was always trying to stack money in there. One of my buddies, he was one of those 18-year-olds, and he just called me the other day. He's on deployment, and he's like, Chiapetta, guess how much money I have in my investment account now? I was like, I know, buddy. How much you got in there? And granted, he started with $10,000 this account when he started in the Air Force 4 years ago. He told me he has over $100K in that account. Because all he did, like, he bought the cheapest car. He would just eat at the dining hall, and he was just stacking money in there. I was like, dude, you're 22 and you have more money than probably people who are 50 right now, just because you were diligent and saving. He's been putting money in his TSP, his TDY money. He's like, yep, not spending that, putting it in my investments. Like, there's so many different benefits in it you can take advantage of. But the ones I like the best, the VA loan for buying houses. I mean, the cool thing people don't know with that is you can buy up to a fourplex. So like I have a buddy in Savannah, he was an Army officer, and I think now he's at a point, he's probably bought about 35 houses. But his first one he bought a fourplex, fixed it up, moved people into it, lived in one unit for a year, and then the next year went and bought another one and just kept doing that. And now he's at a point where he's probably got, 20K of cash flow coming in on top of his captain's salary. So like when he gets out, he's never going to have to work another day in his life. He's just going to chill. And started with a 0% down loan, no money into this deal, and now it's at that stage.
Yeah. Everything that you're talking about, to include, all the investing, all the school education, the Air Force school, all of that stuff that you're talking about requires a certain level of discipline to do. You don't, because you have to be you have to be willing to drive the cheaper car. You have to be willing to, at the end of a workday or on a TDY on a training trip late at night when you have assignments due, like, all right, man, everybody else is relaxing or studying, JTAC stuff or whatever to keep it in the Tac P realm. Guess what? You got to do school, you got it. So it teaches you how to time manage. Did you develop that level of discipline, or did you always kind of have it? Got too close to the truth.
We got
talking about discipline.
Yeah, the big Air Force doesn't want you to know about these programs. The elites killed the stream.
I always blame it on big weather. They're doing something up there.
Yeah, HARP.
Cloud seeding.
Look, we can't talk about it. All right.
Cloud seeding.
All right. So as soon as I asked you that question and you started talking, it cut out on me. So I have no idea what you said. So what I had asked,
rehack it.
Yeah, what I had asked you is about the discipline and all the programs and all the schooling and all the investing and the living within your means and even lesser than your required means. It takes a lot of discipline. Did you always have that, or did you develop that, or did the pipeline help you develop that?
Totally. No, I absolutely did not always have that. Being older, I made maturity, but at the same time, part of the reason I went to the military was I felt like I needed more of that. I was like, I need more discipline, I need more structure. And sometimes somebody forcing that on you, it's kind of like, I always think of, heat and pressure makes diamonds. I was like, and it's hard to do that yourself a lot of times. It takes a really certain type of person to really be able to get good at doing that by yourself. But having that outside force, the military forcing in on you really does a lot of good. And I'd say that really helped hone me in to being a lot more disciplined. But again, it was just being an older guy. When I got home, I wasn't playing video games. I was looking at properties online. That's just probably also just me and how I am. I'm a nerd about that kind of stuff. But it worked well. But I would say the military definitely helped me develop that, because that's the only way you make it through the pipeline. It's that, or you're not going to make it.
Peaches is going to have to edit through these technical difficulties.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry about that. No, that's good. And I think a lot of people, look to the military to provide that structure and that discipline. And it's not, and it almost sounds robotic, right? Like, oh, you just follow orders and you're a robot. And it's not that. Sometimes somebody has been raised and grown up through life in somewhat of a chaotic environment or a loose environment. And humans really are good and require structure and organization, that kind of stuff. I can see Trent's face just going like, yeah, right, dude.
No, it's phrasing. It's just phrasing. It's
Did I mess up again?
you
Somebody
said
clip
loose
that.
environment. I don't know.
I think we're watching Archer, so you talk about phrasing now.
That's what I'm
Are we still
saying.
doing that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're not doing phrasing anymore.
Babu, he remembers me.
Yeah, and so all that kind of checks and did you go back deep into your childhood here? Did you have a structured way of living? I mean, did you were things free range chicken for you?
I think when I was younger, maybe, but then again, from 18 to 30, I was on my own. And so there's more time for that development kind of fall off. Whereas I see how if you're 18, you come right out from under your parents' kind of canopy and then go right into the military. I think, I know Trent was laughing at it, and I think structure and discipline are good, especially early on, to get you. It's like bumpers. They get you going the right direction, and then they can keep you projecting forward. It's like, if you're like a rifle, longer rifle's going to keep it more accurate. Well, how long was that rifle and how long did the barrel or the bullet go down it before it was free on its own? And if you have more structure there to keep you going for longer, you're probably going to stay on a straighter path for longer.
Well, and here's the real question, and these guys don't know this is coming, but as you are kind of transitioning and doing all the school and stuff like that, are you going to be able to maintain that level of discipline through physicality stuff, or are you going to end up like some of these fat retired, I almost said retarded, which also works.
Also,
I mean,
there's an EO that says
that was
we're allowed
that
to call
before
people
I got
retarded.
too.
That's why you went Tac P.
The thing is,
we're a little special, all right?
You see it so much. You see guys just whether they separate or they retire, and they're just like, I don't have this pressure of having to maintain a certain fitness level or a certain appearance anymore. And it's just like, dude, what are you doing, man?
No, I mean, I would say working out is more of what led me to the military than the other way around, because I was lifting, from like 15 on, and then training at that gym Atomic Athlete in Austin. Like that, from the owner being in the military, is a little bit more of kind of military style workouts. And so I was already on that path. And so, yeah, I've told myself from day one when I got out, I was like, I am not going to get fat. Like I'm already kind of, I don't want to say repulsed by fat people, but like I could never see myself being fat. And I'm always like, when I get married and have kids, I plan to be like the hot dad at the soccer thing. And I'm like, all right, that guy's ripped still. I'm out there mowing my lawn with my shirt off looking good. Now that's
The
gonna be
only
me,
rule
not
but it's
big
weird
old
that
belly.
you didn't say fit dad. You said hot dad. So like,
Yeah,
Why not? You can be fit and be ugly.
that's a good point.
It's hard to be hot and not be fit.
So I do have a question. When you say military style workouts, what does that mean?
I guess maybe that's not the best way to describe it, but the culture was more of, military-esque, because there was, at the time when I was there was a couple of CCTs there, or at least one I knew of. There was Jerry the pararescue, and there's a handful of Rangers, a couple SF dudes were in and out of the gym. So there's definitely that culture there, but the workouts, it wasn't CrossFit, but it was still classes, but it was a lot of functional fitness. And what I liked was they were very like focused on compound movements. We weren't doing snatches, we weren't doing kipping. It was all stuff really built up for durability as well as strength. And when I got into the pipeline, I noticed our coaches were coaching stuff that was very similar, supersetting stuff, functional fitness. They were making us do sprints in the Texas heat and tire drags. And, we'd go on rucks and all sorts of stuff like that. And so that's where I was kind of gave me that military vibe and really started like, oh, this is kind of fun. And I like these people and this culture of everyone being like, this sucks. We're all going to do it together. And yeah, so that's why I was like, working out has always been part of my life. And so, no, I don't ever see myself getting fat. But if I do, you can find me and make fun of me.
We will. Well, the only rule on the podcast is you're not allowed to say specific people are fat. We have learned that lesson. So you can say that it's not cool to be fat, but you can't say it's not cool to be fat like obese Anthony Bauerfeind. You can't say that.
Yeah, you can't say. When I was at the USAFA graduation, I saw this dude that was fat and he was in charge.
Morbidly obese because his BMI is 32. That's why they call him Fat Tony. You can't say that. You can say anything else you want.
Body positive.
No, that's over.
Oh, that's over. Oh, we're done. There's an executive order that came out.
Okay.
Oh, cool. Yeah, we're done. Yeah, no, Trump said you're allowed to call people fat, gay, and retarded. So I'm not calling Tony Bauerfeind fat, gay, and retarded. Okay. I'm just calling him fat.
Fair enough.
But the mustache was a strong choice. How much shit did you get for your last name in the pipeline?
I've been getting shit for my last name since I was like in 6th grade. Like literally 6th grade, our science teacher was like, "Oh, Chia," and so I've always just been Chia the entire time, my entire life.
I guess you are a little bit old
in the commercial.
Yeah, I guess you're a little bit old, because the Chiapetta thing. If you were born like 10 years earlier, man, you would have had it's Chiapetta right away.
I mean, I remember those commercials from when I was pretty young. I think we had one when I was younger. We haven't. I'm always like, Dad, how come we didn't get the royalties on this? Like, what the heck?
Yeah,
we could have been retired already.
Dude, ever since you were 6, you're like, we should be rich and not working. I don't know what's so hard about this. But I think we're drilling down to what really made you successful through the pipeline, right? Like there's the name thing. Like what other like holes in your soul were you trying to fill by getting a stupid hat and doing more than you had to in the military?
Oh man. I mean, I honestly think the biggest thing was just staying, like, I know it sounds cheesy, but like being focused. I had one focus, and that was that it was getting through the pipeline. I wasn't letting anything else bother me. Like I said, no, we made jokes about it, but I kept, when you're on Medina, you see everyone walk around going through security forces training, and the worst thing that would happen is you see the dude who washed out the pipeline, and then he'd be in there, and you go up and talk to him. You'd be like, "Hey man, how's this going?" He's like, "Oh man, it's a hard transition," and so that definitely motivated me to be like, don't be that guy. Like, you left a good career at 30, making good money and everything to go do this. I can't go home and tell everyone I failed or that I quit. So like, I have no choice but keep going forward. And I just kept telling myself, like, you didn't come this far to come this far. Like, it's easier to go forward than backwards. Just keep going. Just one foot in front of the other. Eventually you'll get to the end, and then the fun stuff can begin.
Can't ruin that Chiapetta name. You know what I mean?
Nope.
You can't.
Nope.
It's got a legacy of American valor.
Family name.
Yeah. Some people can trace their family back to the Civil War, the Revolutionary War, like we had yesterday, and then some people can trace it back to the Chiapetta. Everybody knows what that is. Man, so you have a whole new host of challenges ahead of you. Like, you're a military guy with service behind you, and you've seen kind of behind the curtain for what it means to serve in America, and now you're inserting yourself in a completely different environment down at Texas McCombs, getting into your MBA program. What kind of, you're like the old guy again, and you're a military guy, and you happen to be in, as we refer to Tac P, Special Operations Light. So you've seen part of that career field and part of that world. What kind of challenges are you forecasting as you go into kind of like general population with a bunch of, younger kids that haven't had that experience? Like, what are you hoping to bring to the table there?
Well, I think the good thing about especially MBA programs is, like, McCombs normally tradition is about like a 15% military rate. There's about 250 people in the program. They're about 15%, so maybe like 30 of them. This year, there's normally about 30. This year is about 45 vets in there. And so we already have like a group message, and it's kind of nice because it kind of softens that blow of coming in, because you've already got a group of vets. We've already all connected, started hanging out together. I will say, like, I think getting back into like a working environment, and I don't say being necessarily being politically correct, but being a little more like, I can't just BS with my buddies. We're not sitting in the team room like hanging out. I'm back in a school environment. I think just getting back to doing homework. I dread homework. I dread tests, but it's kind of just the nature of it. So you just push through. But honestly, that's the good thing about MBAs is like you have a lot of other vets, and I hope we won't be too old. I'll definitely be on the older side, but like one of my buddies who actually helped put in a letter of rec for me to get into this program, he was 40 when he did his MBA, and he was a major in the Marine Corps when he got out, when did his MBA. So that I'd say is like definitely on the older side, but almost all the vets are a little bit older. Like even my FSO from Stewart is in my program. So it's like a funny small world thing. But yeah, it'll be good. I think there's gonna be some challenges. Like my first semester is like accounting, finance, stats, and macroeconomics. So just algebra, calculus, and statistics. And I haven't touched that stuff since my undergrad. I was like, this is gonna be fun, getting back into numbers again.
Is that what it's called? Fun? Is that what?
We
It's
gotta
type 2
work
fun.
on
It's just like the pipeline, right?
You
It's
and
like,
I have very different. I mean, I found the pipeline fun. Statistics?
Yeah,
one way or another, you got to get it done. So I'll figure it out.
There will not be a show called "Once Ready Goes Back to College."
Oh
We're not
man,
doing that.
that would be fantastic. College.
Just be like Billy Mattis with my little lunchbox and my shoes tied tight, hoping I don't get in a fight.
That's exactly what I was thinking of when I asked you if you got your school supplies ready to go for your new school. Did you get your lunchbox? Did you make any friends today at school? I actually want to talk to you through your MBA program. Did you make any friends today? How was recess? Oh, was Susie mean to you? Oh, that's terrible.
She said my He-Man lunchbox isn't cool. It's super cool.
They would say different stuff today because it would be a different context, but I got it.
Yeah.
So man, let's lay it down for brass tacks for anybody that wants to, let's say folks are in and they're looking to transition to that MBA program. How do they walk through that process? And what do you think are the most important things for them to get done?
So the pipeline it's really, this probably goes for MBA, for med school, for a JD, going to law school. The process to get in takes at least a year, because backing out from, getting it accepted even, you have to take a test. So for the MBAs, you either take a GMAT, the GRE, or the executive assessment. And I spent about 6 months studying for that test. You got to apply to it. They normally have a bunch of essays you have to write. So I hired a consultant to help me write my essays, because you have to write it in a certain way. There's even some good groups that focus with veterans to help you transition your storyline of how you make it, one, in the way that an MBA school wants to hear about it and how to talk about it, but then also to make sure it's business specific. And how do I translate these things about being a JTAC? There's no JTACs in the business world. So how do I transition my skills and be like, I did this, I coordinated aircraft, I had to manage a bunch of things at one time, and turn it into a business type sentence of this is what I did, this is how it translates into business.
Bro, have you heard of the oil business? Never mind, that's a joke.
There's JTACs there, except it's run by the military. How hilarious would it be if there actually were JTACs? Like, a second you were like, there's no JTACs in the business world. Can you imagine Meta calling in an airstrike on Grok? That would be great. Anyway.
Yeah. Sorry.
Mark Zuckerberg's got to do something to stay on top,
You were in the zone. There's no JTACs in the business world. You were being specific, and I ruined it.
It's okay.
Man.
Trent, you ruined it. So you got to start at least a year out. You got to get those tests done. How important was your network during this? You already talked about, the world is a very small place, and the military is even smaller. How important is that network and those relationships?
It was everything. I got multiple letters of rec. So I got letters of rec from my flight commander. So I had to work with him on that one. And then once I got in, I actually got on the wait list for a while. So I was trying to get off the wait list. And I had the fortunate opportunity to do a thing called Defense Ventures earlier on, or what was left of Defense Ventures. And I worked at a venture capital fund here in Austin that focused on dual use technology. The owner was an airborne ranger, went to West Point, his MBA at MIT. And the guy I sat next to was in McCombs right then, and was switched from the full-time to the evening program. He was a Marine officer. So getting to know him, he was one of the dudes who kind of helped convince me to go into after the program. He wrote me a letter of rec. There's a guy I met on Yacht Week who ended up living in Austin, had just finished at McCombs, was the major I was talking about, who's now a consultant. He wrote me a letter of rec. And he also then put me in contact with one of the other guys in the main admissions office who happened to be a retired SEAL. Got to talk to him, and he's like, oh yeah, I'll go over and talk to admissions right now for you. And literally a week later, I got the call that I got in. So, the network is everything. And that's one of the biggest things I would say you're paying for. But with the MBA, there's the school side of it, but really it's about the network. Like my cousin has MBA and I'll talk to him about stuff and be like, oh yeah, I've got a friend who does X, Y, and Z for my MBA. Anything in the business world, that's one that basically connects you with. But then you add in that military factor too. It's even a tighter knit group of people who are like, we're in the military, we did our MBA, and you watch a lot of them get out and they tend to just be hard chargers. They go into consulting, investment banking, right into general manager roles. Because if you can add those business skills, because the military gives you great characteristics and great traits, but when you get out, you have to find a way to put those skills to the test. And when I'm going to go compete against someone who has 10 years of operations experience and I've got, say, 10 years of military experience, well, they know business better than I do, but I probably have better characteristics. If I add on that MBA, now we've leveled the playing field when it comes to business skills, but I've got all those other traits that employers want. I've got the drive, I've got the discipline, I've got the mindset to solve problems and not give up until it's done. Like they love that, but you just need that extra skill set of, hey, how does a P&L work? How do I do finances? How do I do marketing? You need to know those as well. And so it could be a great transition program for people, but yeah, your network is a huge thing, and especially for what I want to go into of what's called entrepreneurship through acquisition, of trying to find a business, buy it from like a baby boomer who's retiring and then build it up. It's almost all networking. Like you just got to meet people, meet business brokers, meet lenders who will give loans for these types of things. And like my whole plan is just to start building out a database of people and to start working through it to find a business I could buy. And so I'll never not discount how important your network is. And the military has a great network. When I've gotten out, the amount of people that you talk to, that veterans want to help each other. They really do. Like you're not a POS and you go and actually reach out to people, people will respond to you and they will talk to you. I talked to a guy who was a stow, went to HBS, and he actually was a consultant to help you get ready, prep your resume and stuff like that. And he works at a private equity firm that owns home services businesses, which is what I want to buy. And so I reached out to him over email just blindly. And he said, yep, let's grab a call. We'll talk about it more. Like people want to help you, but you got to put that first step out there. You got to reach out, say, hey, I'm Alex. I was a Tac P. I'm looking to go on this. Could I just pick your brain for 30 minutes? Can I buy you a cup of coffee and can we talk? And most people will bite on that.
Dude, I've heard the future really is paying millions of dollars to buy podcasts. So just if you ever want to buy one, I know of a few that for a few tens of millions of dollars you could purchase one. The upside is insane,
but you may want to get into it quick, because yesterday's price was not today's price, especially speaking about this podcast, dog. Anyway,
follow Alex Rose.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we just hit 40K on YouTube, baby. We're big time.
Did we?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, we really did. Yeah.
It's terrifying.
Man, I want to say thanks for coming on. You have a great story about using everything that you learned inside the military. And as you were talking about all those characteristics and those traits that you need to be successful in the business world, if we go all the way back to the beginning, that's exactly what we're looking at in special warfare assessment and selection in any one of these career fields: grit, determination, teamwork, self-initiation, all these things, work ethic, these things that we look for as we're going to build the next generation of Air Force Special Operations guys. Man, that's the same thing that's going to help you be successful if you do it the right way. And you really did lay out the breadcrumbs and the framework, from investments to getting into that next school spot to building that network and keeping it warm. Man, those are all great lessons for folks, not only at the beginning of the pipeline, but in the military and as they transition out. So I just want to say thanks for giving that input. We always end on advice. What advice would you give to these young kids that are getting ready to go into Air Force Special Warfare at these uncertain times?
Me, I'd say just do it. If you think you want to do it, like, go for it. I think overall, if you think it's going to be a net positive for you, like I asked myself 3 questions when I came in there. I was like, if I had to do this and no one knew that I do it, would I still want to do it? Do I think it's going to be overall net positive for me? And do I think I'm going to be successful at this? And I thought yes to all 3. So what else do I have to do? It was the best thing for me at the time, and I'm so happy I did it. And if you think it's going to be the right thing for you and you're wondering about it, I mean, this place is a great place to get enough resources. And at some point, you just got to pull a trigger and go and do it.
Fantastic. I love that, because it sounds exactly like what we say. And when I hear my words come out of somebody else's mouth, it makes my narcissism just peak and just the right way.
Right here. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. My little ears perked up. Man, Alex, thanks for coming on. We appreciate everything you did. Everybody else out there, make sure to go like, follow, subscribe. Just caress that notification bell so that you're not missing anything that we do. And we've got everything from great guests like Alex to updates on the pipeline, helping you with training programs, everything that you need. Go check the link tree that's on YouTube and on Instagram. Make sure you're following, share the show with everybody you know. We'd love to get it out there more. Alex, thanks for coming on. You can come back on anytime you want. We're excited to see what you do, especially when you get that MBA. So keep us updated and let us know what your progress is. We'll get you back on for an update. So when you're working at Deloitte as the world's best Excel spreadsheet looker at her, man, you'll know a guy. Maybe I'll have you in my network. So we appreciate it, man. Everybody else out there, train hard. We'll see you next time.